Betsy first noticed something was amiss when the incessant crying of the African grey parrot pierced the usual cacophony of Haven Animal Sanctum. Each squawk seemed to echo her rising concern for the bird's well-being. Unsettled, yet determined, she approached the new arrival, whose plumage fluttered in distress. Despite her attempts to soothe it with fresh food and clean water, the parrot's cries only intensified, compelling her to seek help from Dr. Mitchell, the sanctuary's seasoned vet. Dr. Mitchell arrived with a calm demeanour that often reassured the most anxious of animals. Observing the parrot's behaviour, he noted its sharp eyes scanning the surroundings, a sign of acute awareness rather than simple fear. His examination was thorough. Feathers, albeit slightly ruffled, were in good condition. Eyes were clear and bright. Beak and claws showed no signs of neglect. However, as he palpated the bird's small body, its heartbeat rapid yet steady, he realized the physical health of the parrot was not the issue. The mystery deepened as Betsy recounted the scant details of the bird's arrival, found abandoned with no background information to hint at its past. Dr. Mitchell's furrowed brow reflected his concern. "This bird seems physically healthy," he informed Betsy, "which suggests its distress might be emotional or psychological. We'll need to explore further." Over the next few days, the parrot's condition showed no improvement, its cries filling the night air, now a haunting reminder of its unseen scars. As Betsy changed the newspaper lining its cage one morning, a small, worn tag hidden beneath caught her eye. It bore an unfamiliar insignia and a series of digits, potentially a clue to the parrot's origin. Dr. Mitchell took the tag and immediately delved into research, his experience telling him that such marks could relate to wildlife trafficking. Hours of investigation confirmed his fears. The tag was similar to those used by traffickers to track the illegal trade of exotic birds. This discovery shifted the narrative of the parrot's distress from mere discomfort to a sinister saga of capture and captivity. Dr. Mitchell reached out to wildlife experts and law enforcement, sharing his findings and collaborating to trace the parrot's journey. His dedication uncovered a disturbing reality. The African grey, highly valued for its intelligence and beauty, was likely snatched from its natural habitat, enduring brutal conditions as it was smuggled across continents. This bird, like many others, suffered immensely, both physically and psychologically. With this knowledge, Dr. Mitchell's strategy changed. It wasn't just about treating a bird, it was about healing a survivor of a cruel industry. He discussed with Betsy the possibility that the parrot might be mourning the loss of its flock, or even a mate, common among species known for their strong social bonds. This new understanding led them to search for other rescued birds that might be linked to the same trafficking operation. To their astonishment, they located another African grey at a nearby shelter, which had been rescued under similar circumstances. Arrangements were made to reunite the two birds in hopes that familiar company might alleviate their trauma. The moment the two parrots saw each other, the change was instantaneous. The incessant crying ceased, replaced by soft chirps and an interaction that seemed to speak of recognition and relief. Dr. Mitchell and Betsy watched, moved by the profound impact of reconnection. This reunion not only offered a chance for recovery, but also highlighted the importance of their work at the shelter, providing not just a haven, but a place of healing and hope. Their efforts extended beyond the immediate needs of these birds. The sanctuary became a centre for education and advocacy against wildlife trafficking, ensuring that the plight of this African grey parrot sparked a larger conversation about conservation and care. Through their dedication, Dr. Mitchell and Betsy didn't just save a life. They began to mend the very fabric of these creatures' existence, torn apart by human greed. Dr. Mitchell's arrival at the sanctuary marked a turning point for the distressed African grey parrot. With a practiced eye, he observed the bird's every movement and reaction, noting its acute state of distress. As he approached the cage, his presence seemed to both calm and captivate the bird. He spoke softly, a method learned from years of working with traumatized animals, which often helped to soothe their nerves. "It's all right. I'm here to help," he murmured as he began his examination. His hands, steady and experienced, gently checked the parrot's plumage, running fingers through feathers to assess their condition. Each feather was intact, but slightly ruffled, indicative of stress, but not neglect. His visual inspection continued to the bird's eyes and beak, which were clear and well-formed, signs of good physical health that belied the emotional turmoil within. "Let's see how you're doing, huh?" Dr. Mitchell continued, his tone reassuring. The parrot, though initially hesitant, allowed Dr. Mitchell to inspect its claws and wings, showing trust that was hard-won in such animals. He carefully extended each wing, checking for any hidden injuries or signs of mistreatment. Thankfully, there were none. Dr. Mitchell then listened to the parrot's heartbeat with a small, specialized stethoscope. The rapid beats were consistent with stress, but not disease. As he worked, he explained his findings to Betsy, who watched anxiously. "Physically, he's in good shape. No injuries, no signs of illness. His feathers are healthy, eyes are bright, heart and lungs sound," he detailed, summarizing the physical exam. However, Dr. Mitchell's furrowed brow and the contemplative pause that followed his assessment indicated his concerns went deeper. "But," he added, turning to Betsy, "his behavior, the constant crying, it's not normal even for a bird that's just been relocated. There's something else going on here." His years of experience had taught him that physical health was only one piece of the puzzle, especially for animals like parrots, known for their intelligence and emotional depth. "We need to consider that he might be experiencing some sort of psychological trauma. It's not uncommon in birds that have been through what I suspect he has," Dr. Mitchell explained, hinting at the darker aspects of wildlife trade. As he finished his examination, Dr. Mitchell's thoughts turned to the next steps. "We've ruled out physical causes for his distress, which is good news, but it also means we need to dig deeper into his past, find out where he came from and what he's been through. We may need to consult with some experts in bird psychology or even look into his history before he arrived here." This realization set the stage for further investigation into the parrot's background, potentially uncovering the root causes of its distress and opening pathways to more targeted interventions that could help alleviate its suffering. Dr. Mitchell noted this in his medical file, a file that was now much more than a record of health, but a first chapter in understanding and healing a broken spirit. As Betsy set about her daily routine of cleaning the parrot's cage at the Haven Animal Sanctum, a small, irregular object caught her eye, a worn tag buried beneath the fresh newspapers she had just laid down. Curious, she picked it up, examining the faded symbols and string of digits, barely legible from wear. The tag was an anomaly, unlike anything used at the sanctuary. Intrigued, Betsy hurried over to Dr. Mitchell, who was documenting his earlier observations in the vet's office. "Dr. Mitchell, look what I found under the parrot's cage. Do you think it could be important?" she asked, her voice tinged with both excitement and concern. Taking the tag in his hands, Dr. Mitchell inspected it closely. "Interesting," he muttered, peering through his glasses. The tag was not just a simple identifier, but potentially a key to unlocking the parrot's mysterious past. "This could be something significant, Betsy. This isn't our tag. It looks like it could be an ID tag used in the wildlife trade. I need to do some research." With the tag as their new lead, Dr. Mitchell wasted no time. He retreated to his makeshift research station, a corner of his office cluttered with books on avian medicine and wildlife law. He scoured the internet, digging through databases and reaching out to his network of conservationists and fellow veterinarians. The symbols on the tag seemed to be a code, possibly identifying a specific trader or location involved in the illegal bird trade. As Dr. Mitchell's investigation deepened, the sanctuary around him seemed to pulse with the weight of the discovery. The staff went about their tasks quietly, the air charged with anticipation and concern. Every so often, Betsy glanced towards the office, hoping for news. After several hours of intense research, Dr. Mitchell finally found a match. The tag's design was similar to those used by traffickers in West Africa, a region notorious for its parrot smuggling operations. Betsy, this tag, it's definitely used in the trade. It's a tracking method for smugglers to keep records of their shipments, Dr. Mitchell explained when Betsy returned to check on his progress. The implications were dire. The parrot wasn't just lost or abandoned, it was likely a victim of a nefarious trade, ripped from its natural habitat and subjected to the traumatic conditions of smuggling. This realization brought a new urgency to their mission to rehabilitate the bird. Dr. Mitchell documented his findings, adding the new information to the parrot's growing file. "We're dealing with a bird that has possibly seen the worst of humanity," he told Betsy, his voice a mixture of anger and determination. "But now that we know what we're dealing with, we can tailor our approach to his recovery. And maybe, just maybe, we can find out more about where he came from and if there are others." The discovery of the tag not only shed light on the parrot's past, but also steered their next steps. Dr. Mitchell planned to contact wildlife authorities and possibly trace the tag back to its origins, a path that he hoped would lead them to the heart of a smuggling ring. Meanwhile, the parrot's cries seemed to echo a little louder in the halls of the sanctuary, a stark reminder of the journey it had endured and the story they had yet to fully uncover. Dr. Mitchell's quest for the truth behind the mysterious tag led him deep into the underbelly of the illegal parrot trade, a world far crueler and more expansive than many could imagine. As he sifted through records and reports, the evidence mounted, painting a harrowing picture of the life endured by countless birds like their African grey. The vet's office became a hub of activity, with open databases on wildlife trafficking illuminating his screen and stacks of journals and articles strewn across his desk. Dr. Mitchell was relentless, contacting fellow experts and wildlife activists, gathering information about the origins and methods of bird smugglers. The details were grim. Illicit networks spanning continents, covert operations in the dead of night, and the ruthless capture of wild parrots, their vibrant lives reduced to mere commodities. His findings revealed that traffickers often used sophisticated systems to track their illegal cargo, including tags like the one found with their parrot. These birds, prized for their intelligence and beauty, were transported under abysmal conditions, crammed into small, filthy containers, many perishing from stress, injury, or disease long before reaching their destination. As he processed this information, Dr. Mitchell felt a growing responsibility to not just treat, but advocate for these voiceless victims. The sanctuary's mission, he realized, was part of a larger battle against a brutal industry that thrived in the shadows of legality. Armed with new insights, Dr. Mitchell called Betsy into his office to share the unsettling realities they were now up against. "The trade of exotic birds is more sinister than we thought," he began, his voice steady despite the disturbing content. "The tag. This bird was likely part of a shipment from West Africa, transported here under conditions that you and I could hardly endure even in our worst nightmares." Betsy listened, her expression a mix of horror and resolve. "How do we help him then? Knowing all this, what can we do for him now?" she asked, her commitment to the parrot's welfare as firm as ever. "We focus on his recovery, and we educate others about this dark trade. But there's more," Dr. Mitchell continued, a flicker of hope in his tone. "If we can trace this tag, find out where he came from, we might be able to discover more about his background, maybe even find a partner or a flock he was with." The notion that the parrot could be reunited with a lost companion was a revelation that shifted their approach from care to restoration. Dr. Mitchell knew that for many parrots, the social connection was as vital as physical health for their recovery. This potential reunion could be the key to healing the deep psychological scars inflicted by the parrot's traumatic experiences. With this new goal, Dr. Mitchell expanded his research, reaching out to sanctuaries and rescue organizations that might have records of other parrots with similar tags. Each phone call, each email sent, was a step towards possibly mending a broken spirit torn from its natural world. As Betsy left the office, Dr. Mitchell turned back to his screens, his mind racing with possibilities. The dark truth of the parrot's past was now a catalyst for a broader mission, a mission that could possibly reunite a broken bird with its past and, hopefully, offer a chance for a more peaceful future. Dr. Mitchell's determination to reunite the African grey parrot with a potential lost partner transformed into a meticulous search through shelter networks and wildlife rescue databases. His office, usually quiet and contained, buzzed with the energy of a mission that could change the course of a life. Or, in this case, two. Every call he made, every database he queried, brought him closer to a reunion that he hoped would spark healing. As he worked, Dr. Mitchell also coordinated with various animal welfare organisations, explaining the situation and the significance of the tag. His inquiries led him to a shelter in a neighbouring state that had recently taken in an African grey under similar circumstances. The staff there reported that their rescued parrot also exhibited signs of distress and had a tag that matched the series of the one found with their bird. While Dr. Mitchell orchestrated the efforts from his office, Betsy prepared the sanctuary for the arrival of the second parrot. She thought about the deep emotional bonds these parrots formed in the wild, bonds that were cruelly severed by traffickers. She set up a new enclosure adjacent to their current African grey's habitat, ensuring both birds would have space yet remain close enough to sense each other's presence. Bringing them together might just give them the peace they haven't felt since being taken from their home, she shared with a fellow caregiver as they arranged the perches and feeding stations. Her voice carried a mix of hope and cautious optimism, reflecting the emotional weight of what these reunions meant for creatures like them. Meanwhile, Dr. Mitchell kept in contact with the second shelter, coordinating the transfer. "We believe these birds were part of the same flock, possibly even more intimately connected. Observing their interaction will be crucial," he explained over the phone to the sanctuary's director. The conversation was a blend of logistical planning and shared commitment to the welfare of the parrots, highlighting the collaborative spirit of the animal rescue community. Finally, the day of the potential reunion arrived. The second parrot was brought to Haven Animal Sanctum, its arrival stirring a flurry of activity and muted excitement among the staff. As the carrier was gently placed near the enclosure of their resident parrot, all eyes were on the two birds. Dr. Mitchell and Betsy watched intently as the newcomer was released into its new space. There was a moment of palpable anticipation as both parrots caught sight of each other. Initially hesitant, each bird cocked its head, eyes locking in a silent, profound recognition that seemed to transcend their recent traumas. The sanctuary fell quiet, the only sounds the soft rustling of feathers and a tentative chirp from one parrot to the other. The connection was instant, a bond reignited by the mere sight of one another, suggesting that this reunion might indeed be the key to healing the deep emotional scars left by their harrowing journeys. The moment the two African grey parrots recognised each other, the air within Haven Animal Sanctum changed. The usual calls and sounds of the shelter seemed to fade into the background as the birds began to interact. The initial cautious chirps quickly transformed into animated squawks and fluttering wings, signalling a reunion that was both heartwarming and profound. Dr. Mitchell and Betsy stood by, observing the incredible scene unfold. The birds edged closer, their movements tentative yet eager, as if rediscovering a long-lost part of themselves. With each passing moment, their interactions grew more confident and expressive. The pair began to mimic each other's sounds, a behaviour typical of African greys when they are content and socially engaged. "It's like they never forgot each other," Betsy whispered, her eyes bright with tears of joy. "Seeing them together, it's just amazing." Dr. Mitchell nodded, his professional demeanour giving way to a rare smile of pure delight. "This is why we do what we do, Betsy. This right here, helping them find each other again. It's a reminder of the resilience of nature and the healing power of companionship." The staff around them shared quiet congratulations, their faces reflecting the happiness that filled the room. The parrots' reunion was more than just a successful pairing. It was a testament to the sanctuary's commitment to the well-being and recovery of the animals in their care. As the parrots continued to interact, their vocalizations turned into harmonious chirping, a duet that seemed to celebrate their restored bond. The sounds were not just communications, they were expressions of relief and the beginning of healing from the trauma they had endured. The sanctuary team listened, deeply moved by the evident transformation. "How do we ensure they continue to heal from here?" Betsy asked, turning to Dr. Mitchell with a thoughtful look. "We keep doing what we're doing," he responded, watching the parrots preen each other, a sign of mutual trust and affection. "We provide a safe, enriching environment. We monitor their health, both physical and emotional, and we give them the stability they've been denied for too long." The plan was to maintain a close observation of their recovery, integrating various enrichment activities designed to stimulate their natural behaviours and promote psychological well-being. The shelter would also continue its work with experts in avian behaviour to tailor their care and potentially reintegrate them into a larger flock, fostering a sense of community essential for their species. As the sun began to set, casting a warm glow over the sanctuary, the reunited parrots settled down side by side, their chirps softening to gentle coos. Their newfound peace was a beautiful sight, one that reinforced the shelter's mission and the importance of each rescue. This reunion, now marked by their synchronous harmony, was just the beginning of their journey together, a journey of healing and hope, underscored by the joyful music of their shared song. With the successful reunion of the African grey parrots, Dr. Mitchell and Betsy shifted their focus to ensuring the birds' long-term well-being. They developed a holistic care plan tailored specifically for the parrots, integrating both their physical health needs and their psychological recovery. Dr. Mitchell started the morning by consulting with avian nutrition experts to refine the parrots' diet, ensuring it mimicked what they would find in their natural habitat as closely as possible. This included a variety of fruits, nuts and vegetables to not only meet their nutritional requirements, but also provide mental stimulation through foraging activities. Meanwhile, Betsy worked on redesigning their living space to resemble an environment where they could thrive. She added branches for perching that varied in size and texture, and toys that encouraged natural behaviours like puzzle solving, which would help keep the parrots engaged and mentally active. "It's about creating a space that feels safe and stimulating," she explained to a volunteer. "Every detail helps them rebuild a life that's as close to what it should have been." As they worked, Dr. Mitchell and Betsy discussed the broader implications of their efforts. "Every step we take not only helps these two, but also gives us deeper insights into combating the illegal trade that brought them here," Dr. Mitchell remarked. "It's about healing them and making a statement against a trade that robs creatures of their rightful lives." Their dialogue often returned to the importance of education and advocacy. Betsy noted the impact of sharing the parrot story on social media, which had sparked conversations and increased public awareness about wildlife trafficking. "We need to keep the momentum going. Every story we share, every bird we help, turns the tide a little more in our favour," she said, optimism threading through her words. As the day drew to a close, Dr. Mitchell and Betsy took a moment to observe the parrots, now exploring their enriched environment with cautious curiosity. The sight of the birds, finally at peace and beginning to engage with their new world, was a poignant reminder of the journey they had all undertaken together. Reflecting on the progress made, Dr. Mitchell shared a thought with Betsy. "Seeing them like this, it's clear we're on the right path. Our work, our dedication, it's making a difference." Together, they watched the parrots play and interact, their behaviour a testament to the resilience and strength of nature. It was a new beginning not just for the parrots, but for everyone at the sanctuary, inspired anew by the difference they could make. The quiet of the evening was filled with the gentle sounds of the parrots' interactions, a symphony of recovery and hope that echoed through the sanctuary.